On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
Fall into your femininity because he's not going to put you in a place where you got to compete for resources and need you in order to pay the bills. It's a certain level of leadership that you're going to fall under by default because that's your inherent nature as a woman. Yes, some things can be learned and some things are learned behavior, but instinctually, women are still who they are when they get under a certain type of guy. And when a certain dude moves through the room, and Mr. Logic, you know it's true. Me and you connected in person the other day, and I'm not talking about me, I'm not talking about you, but just on an observation level, when a certain dude or when certain people move through the room, women inherently get up under his leadership and don't question it even a little bit. And when you see him move around certain other dudes, they move a certain type of way. It's not hard to figure out. People are who they are. A woman today, a modern woman today is no different than a modern woman in 1920. It's the same thing. It did not change. Understand how people just move recklessly and then justify it by saying, well, I'm single. No, now, in my opinion, you trash, because if you're not a reflection of what I want when you're single, then I'm definitely not rocking with you when I'm deciding to marry you, because you can't turn it on and off. You just gonna mask it, and then eventually the real you is gonna come out eventually.
I mean, in college, people were doing shit that you wouldn't think. Like, before Rita, every girl that you mess with, did you want to marry them?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so that's moving in a different way.
But here's the thing. I didn't want to marry Rita when I met her either.
Oh,
the goal wasn't to get married because I didn't change into being marriage minded. I was just trying to be the best version of myself. And then when somebody stuck around long enough in my network that made sense for me, because I got to see who they authentically were inside and out. Because let's be clear, even at that time, I wasn't rocking with everybody. Just because a chick is bad don't mean that I'm asleep with her. Like, I don't even understand why a lot of guys like the same chick. Like, I don't understand why everybody trying to bang the same chick. It's like, yo, it's a gajillion chicks out here. Why y'all stuck on that one? It's a whole lot of them out here. Focus on everybody else. So it's not, you can't just take everybody that throw it at you or just smash just for the sake of smashing, because I don't get nothing out of that. Like, I got to connect with people. I got to vibe with them. I think that the experience is much more euphoric when you really, really connect with people on a different level, even way back then. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't looking to get married in general. I was so busy working on myself that I wasn't paying attention to nobody. And she just became the most visible person to me because she was the most authentic and dope. And she spent the most time with me that allowed me to see who she was in every aspect of her life. But I was never focused on any chick. It wasn't about them.
I think you have to prepare for the title that you want. So as far as with men, and I hear men say it a lot of the times, where I'm not ready to be married because I'm not financially stable, because I'm not ready to commit to one person. So I think a lot of men, that when they get ready, they understand what it takes to be a husband. So they make sure financially they're straight, they have a career. So I think that's preparing a man to be marriage minded. For a woman is the same. It's because we're not taught, we're not trained, a lot of us, to be a wife. And I think it's something completely different from just being out here on your own, going to school, working, than being with a man, being submissive to a man, making sure the man is a leader. If you haven't seen that in the household, then you have to learn it. If you see it in the household, and if you're trained up to be it, then that marriage minded comes in at a smaller age. So
Rita really wasn't trained to be a wife either, at all. Not even remotely. Rita wasn't trained to be a wife at all. And I think that
I can't speak
what a wife looks like.
Well, that might be for Rita. But for a lot of women, and a lot of women will tell you, as far as even when you call them quote unquote modern women, well, they're modern women because we're used and we're trained of doing things on our own. You got married to Rita when she was younger. A lot of us are not getting married until we're in our 30s or late 30s. So we do have to train and be marriage minded and understand what we've been taught, how we've been trained. It's not going to work in a conducive marriage.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Marriage minded is I have to change the way that I was taught in the society, being a feminist, being this. I have to rechange, rethink, higher learning, relearn. So that is becoming marriage minded, is understanding that what I was taught, how I was raised, I can't do this in a marriage. I can't over talk all the time and do that in a marriage. So it is changing your mindset.
Let me tell you something. and I'm gonna pass the mic after this. I've had an epiphany lately. I don't have a problem with feminists at all. Like, I've evolved to the point where I realize that feminism is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, because what we find is that the reason why your grandparents and the people that came before us finessed us and they messed us up is because the only difference is that they didn't have any other choice. Women didn't have anywhere to go. The problem with guys today, and the reason why y'all not choosing them, is because you don't want to subject yourself, and women are inherently not going to date down. The beauty in feminism is that when women can choose for themselves, do they still want to rock with you? It forces people to compete even harder and not just rely on the fact that you're a man in order to get a girl. So now you got to show up. Right now, it's not enough to just be a man, because way back in the day, there used to be barriers to entry. You used to have to pay a dowry. You used to have to meet certain expectations in order to get married. Really, what you're seeing is that the reason why people are complaining is because they can't compete. Now, I understand if women can't complain, right? Because I don't care what women think. It's not about them from my perspective, because I'm a man. But from a man's perspective, if you can't compete, and you blaming it on feminism because you can't be the man that you need to be and find one, if you can't find one woman and you're blaming it on feminism, then that's a problem for you. I don't have a problem with it, because guys that's winning has never had a problem with women in the first place.
Well, I understand that there's different waves of feminism, but when I'm speaking about it, it's not that men have a problem in getting women. Our problem is getting married and staying married. Why is that? Maybe because we don't know how to be married. Maybe because we haven't seen it. Maybe because we wasn't trained or taught to be it. So it's not even the essence of, is there a problem with you getting a woman or being in a relationship? How do you stay married? And especially when you get to a particular age, when you've been doing it by yourself for such a long time, you're stuck in your ways, and now you want to be married and be with someone in the house when you're used to doing it all your own. You have to change your mind state.
You don't, because if you under the right type of man, he gonna change it for you. You're going to inherently fall into your femininity, because he's not going to put you in a place where you got to compete for resources and need you in order to pay the bills. It's a certain level of leadership that you're going to fall under by default, because that's your inherent nature as a woman. Yes, some things can be learned and some things are learned behavior, but instinctually, women are still who they are when they get under a certain type of guy. And when a certain dude moved through the room, and Mr. Logic, you know it's true. Me and you connected in person the other day, and I'm not talking about me, I'm not talking about you, but just on an observation level, when a certain dude or when certain people move through the room, women inherently get up under his leadership and don't question it even a little bit. And when you see him move around certain other dudes, they move a certain type of way. It's not hard to figure out. People are who they are. A woman today, a modern woman today, is no different than a modern woman in 1920. It's the same thing. It did not change.